Yeah. Now, you guys have talked a lot about all the different aspects of world building. I want to know what is your favorite aspect?
Well, I love maps. I said that before. I have no sense of directions. I just love looking at maps and getting an idea of where stuff is. But I also love the lore and history and making different traditions and culture up in different countries and different areas of the world, and that's one of my favorites.
I like having an environment to tell my story. There are a lot of them in my noggin, and I just like to get them out sometimes. And I like to bring people with me. And of course, I want them to enjoy it. It's a labor of love to me.
I
think one
think.
of Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. No, no,
Nope,
no,
nope, nope,
Shayna,
nope. You, you,
please.
you, 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 you,
Uh,
you, you, you.
my favorite thing, I've mentioned it before, but is taking yes anding the players and really taking something that was like an idea they had and making it matter for everybody, because that invites everybody at the table to be interested in that player and their ideas. And some of my favorite villains have been people from people's backstory, not the one that I like imagined for the world. Or moments like I had a somebody in that Icewind Dale campaign where their whole secret is that they were raised by Yetis, and there was an encounter where they encountered Yetis, and I said, you know what? That's going to be his mom, and they're going to walk in here thinking they're going to have to fight some Yetis, and it's going to go real different. You know what I mean? But like that, yeah. Did that change the way that encounter plays out? Absolutely, it does. But did that give everyone a chance to kind of yes and that character's choice in an environment that was appropriate for them to take center stage? Yeah. And so whether it's playing an existing game and expanding the world so that there's an opportunity like that, or building a world around other people's ideas, like that's what I love most. And it's the things that I love are make like yes anding other people's ideas and making them matter.
I think for me, I absolutely love more than anything is having my players ask me questions and become emotionally involved in the NPCs that they meet.
Hmm.
I mean, I've had that happen so many times. Back to our friend Lowry again, we they played a game where they were all royal brats, same game, and Lowry's character had a little girl follow him around. He was the baby. He was only 15 and she was 13, and she followed him around, and oh how she was crazy about him, and she just was obsessed with him, and we're going to get married someday, and she just had cooties, and he was trying to get her to leave him alone. And session after session after session, little Charlotte followed him around and aggravated him, and he was being annoyed by Charlotte, but he liked her. She was smart. She was a princess from another kingdom. And there was a moment in the game where the players entered into a dungeon, and when they came back out, they discovered that 10 years had passed since they had entered it, a 10-year gap in time. And they were the princes of the kingdom. And so everybody else is like, oh my God, our mom and our dad, what are we going to do? Oh, holy crap. Our parents are going to be freaked out and blah, blah, blah. And this player, literally, his whole face fell. And he looked at me and he goes, oh my God, guys, what if Charlotte's got a new boyfriend? And he was heartbroken. And everybody just looked at him like, you don't even like Charlotte, dude. He goes, no, but she's going to marry me. And what if Charlotte's 10 years older? What are we going to? And come to find out, their mother and father had adopted Charlotte as their child and lied and told everybody that she had married him. And she was then going to be the ruler someday. And it was a great story, but just the emotional roller
Mm-hmm.
coaster of his brain in that one
Mm-hmm.
moment is one of the greatest moments of DMing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And it was everybody became invested in what are we going to do about
Yeah.
Charlotte and her mom and these emotions. And if I can make it
Mm-hmm.
emotional for my players, whether it's that or whether it's
Mm-hmm.
them totally ass kicking my bad guy with, oh God, it's happened so many times. It happened again last Wednesday night. It's like, oh, he's dead. He didn't even get around to combat. He's just dead. But they're happy about it because they pulled out the greatest,
Mm-hmm.
assassination ever. Those moments of happiness and joy and emotion for them is
Mm-hmm.
a moment of happiness and emotion and joy for me. So
Yeah.
Wow. So I tried that with Lowry.
Did it not go the same?
We're going to subtitle
Oh,
this. This is about Lowry.
oh no. So the big bad developed a crush on him.
Lowry
And
gets around. Lowry
he
pulls.
does. He does. Good old Max the Magnificent. Um, and he laughed at her like every encounter, and just I couldn't find a way to get him interested until he showed up at her house and threw a cloud kill on her base and left.
Oh boy.
Some guys bring roses.
Some
Others
guys
bring
were
cloud
dead.
kill.
And then there's Lowry.
And then
I
there's
used to-
Lowry.
I used to keep a sheet of paper, and I still do sometimes. Now it's a document on my computer that literally is titled "People I Accidentally Created." They'll walk into a bar, they'll walk into a tavern, and they'll meet this person. They're invested in that it's just they are interested in who this person is. Well, I better make them interesting for them. And I mean, I ended up having an entire game be based on a little mooseling character, a little mouse guy who, he was in the closet and all he did was make clothes, and they suddenly realized he had the magical ability to make clothes fast, and they were taking him with them. They're like, we ain't leaving the mouse. What's his name? I'm like, Tavish. They're like, Tavish is coming with us, and they kidnapped him from his mean people who kept him in the closet, and he became their mascot. And I was like, well, I guess I'm making a damn character for him. But it's those moments where they create as much as you do just make you so happy.
True. But that is one of my two Achilles heels.
Yeah.
Adoption.
Adoption.
Yeah.
I think one of my things that I've really been thinking about recently, so we're going from Achilles heel to like inspiration of like this is reinvigorating me, is the idea that the party has to succeed enough to gain notoriety to be, the chosen ones, the main characters of the story, and then they have to fail. There has to be an Empire Strikes Back moment. And it's hard to orchestrate that. Like you can, build your worlds and your villains and your people who want what they want, but you've got, other people at the table who you care about, I'm assuming, because you're playing this game with them. But you really do have to help them find their way to failure in a way that seems fair. Because if you just, like we were saying, make them fail without any autonomy in a game that's all about player choice and decision making, it's really hard. So finding we've heard a little bit about like time skips. What are ways in the front story building of our games or LARPs or whatever we're doing that we found to enable failure in a way that's been really positive in the end? How do we create insurmountable odds?
Oh, I just throw them. I have
Off a cliff? What are we saying?
No, I just throw it at them. I will, during session 0, I will put out a caveat that says, sometimes running away is the answer. Mm-hmm. I will tell them straight up. So there will be encounters. I'm not holding your hand. If you find your way into this situation, there may not be a fix for it other than run. Yeah. So, and I will drop hints when they get there, and let them know. But
just make one of them have the hindrance cautious. You're good. Just,
yeah.
There you go. You're fine. That did it for me.
In Savage Worlds,
Pixi,
I
were
like.
you going to say something?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. In Savage Worlds, I like the idea of like, if you fail this roll, I'll give you a Benny. Like, just accept your failure and let's move on. And that also, like, and they get a Benny, which they can use to re-roll later or heal. Or Shana probably they can explain it better than I can.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's a great system for that. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
As I say, it really does reward you for intentional I know I'm doing like my as I was talking about the hindrance cautious. Every time they would turn around, I would sneak him a Benny behind the table and be like, you keep doing this to them. It's like they just need to talk over me. I'd be fine if they just say, well, no, Grandpa, we think we got to do this. And I was like, yeah, but you're the leader, dipshit. And he literally did. He bought the Benny off. He bought the hindrance off after a while because he realized it was becoming detrimental. And he did it through a role play way. You know, he basically was his character was realizing I'm the one holding these kids back. They're heroes, and I'm preventing them from being a hero, and I have to stop it. And so when he bought it off, the next time they started talking, we need to do something. He goes, y'all need to make your own minds up. I can't tell you anymore. And they're like, but Grandpa, and he's like, nope. I have to be. You have to
get out of your way.
I have to get out of your kids' ways. I keep stopping you. I keep making you not do it. And it was a great role play moment. Everybody got bennies, but and that's one of the things I always find interesting about, you know, when you're really in depth in creating with your players is how much of the world building control do you give to them. And sometimes I find it so wonderful when your characters are so invested in what you've built that they begin to build on it. One of the game worlds that I've run for years, one of my friends came up to me about a year and a half ago and says, I want to play this character in this game world desperately. Will you please run a game so I can play this character arc in your game? And I was like, oh, okay, sure. That sounds like fun. And about 7 or 8 sessions in, he wanted to play a deity, he wanted to worship a specific deity in this pantheon. And somebody was basically bad mouthing his god, and he just went off on this oratory of, no, the great Lord Coyote the trickster is not what you think he is. He's not an agent of chaos. He's an agent of change and understanding. He preached for like 5 minutes, and I almost cried because this is a pantheon I've had out there for 15 years, and he understood it. He got it. Yeah. He understood what I was trying to do, and I made that particular god, and it just felt so awesome. And it's wonderful to watch him create those moments for my game world to live better. You know, it's just collaboration's awesome.
I think one of the things that I've had to do for myself, because I'm always really like, I hate feeling like I've failed my players. And the only way you fail your players is if nobody's having a good time, right? And that is really, really key. But the other thing is, similar to Cammie's sort of at the beginning in session 0, I tell them like sometimes running away is your option. What I say is failure is not the end of our story. I promise you that even if there is a TPK at this table, that we will be able to continue telling this story together. So play hard, play with your whole heart, play like it's fuck it, it's a one shot. Because I will find a way, and we will find a way together to make your failures the most memorable part of what we do that propel you to your victories. And I think that is really, I say it for them, but like I say it for me too. And my responsibility there is when I'm thinking about these difficult encounters, I also have to think about what happens if the BBEG wins. What and how to actually play it out, not just like it might happen, but like what if they do? Right. What if these people are imprisoned in hell and have to go on a journey for their souls? What if these people end up tortured by the people who have now captured them? What if one of them dies and they don't have the ability to bring them back right then? How do I bring that player to the table in a new guise, or how do I make that work for everybody, right? And so that's my responsibility in terms of the continuing to build at the table. That's what I have to prepare for, and I'm much better at preparing for that than coming up with old Sal's name who runs the saloon. I'll never do it. I'll never name a person who owns a tavern. It'll never happen. But the BBEG figuring out a way to like continue having engaging conversation with these characters, or to have someone intercede off of the prime material plane, I will figure out ways for them to fail and to have it continue, and I think that's really key.
I used to play with some friends. The GM of that group had this game world that every campaign was in this world, just different countries and different and we progressed through different tech levels and et cetera, et cetera. And it got to there was a game, and it was one of the funnest games I played in that group, where we all accidentally destroyed the world and he had to start all over again, but it was the funnest game ever.
That's awesome. Just uncontrolled chaos sometimes can be the most entertaining. One of the funniest at least games that we played was one of my friends' first time running, I believe, and he thought hit dice were d10s, um, and he just took max just 10 on everything and didn't feel like that was enough, so he added another 50% on top of it. We were all 0 level characters.
Hmm.
So we got shot down by kobolds raining arrows down us as we tried to assault a hill. So we got, completely wiped. But we immediately turned around and rolled up characters that were the party going out looking for those characters because they were missing from their families. So, and that started a whole big campaign.
Yep.
So it was a lot of fun.
I had a guy run a game one time when I was in high school. We had to make our big awesome hero, and he let us make them at like 5th or 6th level. We also had to make their henchmen, and he killed our players, and then we had to play the henchmen.
Oh,
That was the entire hook. The entire hook was he killed all the players, and then we had to play the
Wow.
henchmen.
What a cool
That's-
hook.
It was
I
a good
would be
hook.
so mad.
I
I
mean,
would be so upset.
in high school,
Oh, I
that
wasn't,
would have
because
been great.
I liked my henchmen. I was
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah.
No,
And-
that's
and-
true.
In high school, at the high school level when I was playing, that would have been great. But now, as much as I invest into a character, like if we had done session 0, I would have gone all into my main. I would have bought miniatures. I would have written backstories, and then henchmen would have been, just right there, holding
Yeah.
holding the bucket, and
Holding the coconut
the
halves.
coconuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been the worst. But us the next session, I would have been rolling with it. It would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
So
The key is that if your world has, because you haven't failed your players because the game's not over yet.
right.
I like to say that
Yep.
to myself a lot. But if your world has somehow failed your players on a particular day, it is helpful to take time with them away from the table, right? And have time to say like, okay, so what are you upset about? Like I recently had, speaking of failures, I lost all of the party loot that I have spent for 7 years gathering for a particular campaign, all because of a decision that I made, basically, from my backstory, and we lost everything, and I was pissed. Now I was there were a lot of like mechanical unfairness kind of feelings that I had, but the best part about meeting with the DM afterwards was talking to him about like, okay, so what about this is like upsetting me, right? Why do I feel like failed by this experience, right? Why do I feel like this isn't like the invitation to the next cool thing I'm going to do? And a lot of it had to do with like literally the mechanics of the fight would have been just completely unwinnable, so it felt like it was on rails, that I couldn't do anything about, and not like for lack of trying. Like there was never an opportunity for me to really try in a way that like I could have used my abilities. And so once we did that, I realized that I was actually fine with losing the MacGuffin that was in the bag of holding. I was actually fine with losing most of our stuff. I have like most of our wealth on my person, but like we lost all like a bunch of magic items and things that we'd been holding on to but not actively using. And I realized that like I was actually excited about losing the MacGuffin because of what that was going to mean for what we were going to do next, right? But I was upset about the mechanics of the way it went down. And so having those conversations afterwards, I guess we've sort of scope creeped into like triaging triaging table experience here. But that's helpful because now we both know what to do next time, but also like I'm very excited to see what's been built around this new opportunity. And I think that's I don't know. I think that's like something that feels different on both sides of the table. And so being able to, be a prodigious world builder as a player and be a prodigious world builder as a DM or a GM is really important to helping you facilitate like the best possible story.
That's perfect. Okay, so what tools would you recommend for world building and notation, and what advice do you have for listeners that want to start world building?
The number one thing I always say is if you're about to start a new campaign or a new game world of any type, it needs its own place to be that its own doc file on your computer, be that its own World Anvil file. I use a Moleskine, a journal book. And every game I've ever had has had its own journal book, and that's just how it is. And sometimes I will have a journal book that's absolutely nothing but sketches and ideas, and then I will start a new journal book for I'm taking this idea out of this sketchbook, and this is the idea that I'm going to now build for this book. But having all your notes in one place or having all your ideas in one place to start is something that I find is, I am not that type of person. I'm not an organized individual. Y'all can see behind me right now. You know that. But, I find that that's very helpful when it comes to world building, is to have all of my ideas into one place.
That is my second Achilles heel, is note taking.
Oh, I don't take notes worth shit. My players do.
Right.
And
right.
let me tell you, Savage Worlds has a great system for that, because if you're the person that took the best notes, you get a biddy. And at the beginning of every game session, whoever is basically taking the notes, that person will give the minutes for the last session. They'll all talk about things. They'll remind themselves of everything. I pass out a biddy to everybody who helped remind me of something, and then I take their notes down.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Sam.
Yeah.
She is. When I was running D&D, I had a system. But since I started running my own game, Stellar Division, I do not take notes very well, because I'm still trying, not only am I telling a story, I'm also trying to sort out the mechanics of the game, because we are playtesting. But Sam is a wonderful note taker, and I have been able, most of my playtest sessions have had her in it, and she takes amazing notes. But when I was doing D&D, I designed in CorelDRAW a form that I used, and it had a line for each player, a little box. I had tick marks for things. I had hit points, experience points, all the stuff I needed to record, and all of it was in that form. And I just had a whole notebook full of them, and I had a little top, space at the top. I wrote in the date, the session, all that stuff, and it really kept me on point.
At one point, I used to use Obsidian Portal back in the olden days, and they had a wonderful system to where players could enter their notes or enter their memories or write stuff about the game. And I always loved that. And actually, I've gone back, because I still keep my Obsidian Portal account. I've actually gone back sometimes to games I haven't run in 10 years to reread the notes, because I'm betting money somebody wrote down so and so's cousin's name, and I need it for the next game session I'm going to run. So because all of that game world's notes are there, because I would put my notes into that system as well. But they're there if I ever need them. And I need to really print those out, so I have a hard copy of them on a shelf somewhere.
I like to, so I primarily use Roll20 because that's just what I've been using. And so I will keep my story notes, like all of my like major file, in one Google Doc. I'm prodigiously terrible at taking notes. I have a Helena for that. in most of my games. I have a Helena, Godspeed wherever you are, who takes notes, great notes. And what I've started doing now is I just take the 10 to 15 minutes after game, once everybody has said goodbye or we're in the car driving home. My husband's driving. I will just take the time to write down everything that happened that session. And then I will put it in the Discord and pin it as like session notes. And then anybody else can add on, oh, you forgot we bought the sled dogs, or oh, you forgot this happened and it was really important to me. That also tells me if I missed it and I didn't think it was important, it tells me this was really important to this player. So let's make sure I bring it back later and make sure it matters, because it matters to them, right? Then within Roll20, I have two things that I do. I create handouts for anything that I think the players are going to discover. So I have in every handout, there's like the information that's written at the top, and then you have like GM notes underneath. So I'll keep everything in GM notes, and then as they find things out, we move it up. So the first time this was really successfully done in a game that I was in, it was when we were in Curse of Strahd, and we were like reading the book, the manifesto or whatever, and every time we found out something important about him, our DM would move it into the chapters that we had read. Right. And so if you have like a book with all sorts of things, or you have somebody who's like especially studious and wants to read and learn about a particular thing, you can then come up with your 5 bullet points they're going to learn when they spend 5, short rests studying, and move them up one by one into the public area. And you can either just make that editable or just readable by the player that's doing it, or by everybody. You can build tables for them. You can build whatever you want, just save it in handouts. And I keep everybody's like backstory that they've given me in there as well, so that I can easily reference it and pull it up and make certain elements hidden just for the player and certain elements public information that they've shared with the party. So everybody is seeing something that's been customized to them. And then the other thing that I do, speaking of our love of maps, I have a really hard time imagining where everybody important is. And so I have a world map and I have a party token that's like your Indiana Jones. That's what moves from town to town whenever they're traveling or they're between places. I have the party token. And then on the GM layer, which is something only I can see, I have the locations of all the big bads, or like the areas where I think events are going to pop off. And I can always move them at any time, but it's only something I can see. But I also have, if they've met an important person that is pretty much staying in a particular town, or if the person tells them that they've moved, I'll move them to another place. But then they have a sense, it helps them sort of imagine, okay, where are we going next, what are the things we have to do. They can kind of see that visually on the map, like almost like a quest log, whether they want to read it in text in the chat area, like in the chat side, or like see it visually on the map. And I have just recently got a bunch of people who actually take the responsibility of writing on the map itself. Like, we went here, this was a bad town with bad fish people, do not go back. Or, great drinks will return later. It's really fun to give them that autonomy with your map that you slaved over, right? To give them that opportunity to put their notes right there on the map. They're building it with you, they're experiencing it with you. And so those are the biggest things, I think, that the biggest tools that I use within Roll20 for sure. And then I mentioned some previously, like Quiet Year and the Book of Many Things for sure.
Go ahead, Pixie.
Oh, I use this app called Trello a lot. It's a free app, and it's like a group bulletin board that you can add categories and pictures and comments and descriptions, and we use that a lot for world building and note taking, because as a player, I am overly meticulous about my notes. I have one campaign that had 2 notebooks just full, because I write everything down, or I write nothing. There's no in between. Another one another tool I use is called Dawn of Worlds, which is also a free game somewhere online, which starts from year 0. You have a blank globe and you build the geography and the biomes, and you move on from there and you add critters and creatures, other creatures, and then sentient races, and That's I liked that for getting started, but I've never finished a game because once I figure out where I'm going with that game, I just dump the point usage and just go from there because I'm building a world. The game is only there as a tool. I don't need to keep playing this game, as it were. And then I have mentioned incarnate.com. That's a great one for maps and also free. I like free stuff. I can't help it.
I will second Trillo. That's actually what I was
Mhm.
about to bring up. Both Trillo and World Anvil have been absolutely amazing in games I've run. I have ran a game for a short period of time where everybody was playing. Think of it as fantasy NCIS. That's the best way to do it. Everybody was a group of detectives, and they were called a bump squad. They looked for what went bump in the night. And one of the girls in that game was like, "Have y'all ever heard of Trello?" It had just come out then, and she started a case file for their mystery. And so they had their own quote unquote board, and they could all access the Trello file and keep notes. And it is still fun to go back and look at them because they ended up like doing every time they would get a new case, they would make a new Trello board for their case. It was absolutely genius. Of course, you could put pictures and they could put marks. We need to come back and question this person again. And they literally used it as if it was the chalkboard in their office. It was awesome.
Oh, I have another mystery game coming up, and I use Trello, so I can't wait to incorporate that because that idea is awesome, and I love that.
Mm.
It worked really, really well. Actually, message me in Discord and after this, and I'll give you the links to the Trellos if I can remember how to find them. So, but they were fun.
Oh,
And heck,
thank you.
I'll let some of our, if you want me to, I'll see if I can figure out how to make them public, and we can let people see that particular or one or two of those boards and how it worked. So it can maybe be helpful.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I grabbed a interesting online tool called Tailspire when it first
Mhm.
dropped. I haven't checked on it in a while um, because they didn't have any space stuff yet. Um, I mean, they had a little bit. People were, and I love that they've got a community that's building stuff. So, but you can import your um, Hero Forge models into it.
Oh, cool.
Yes,
That's cool, yeah.
which is really awesome. But I need to go back and visit that because I do feel a new playtest session coming on because I revised my camp. That's the only problem that I have had with a lot of these online tools, and I need to dig back into Tailspire and see if they took my suggestion.
Mm.
My game uses cards. It doesn't have you don't have to have them, but it really helps with your character's abilities. Like you only have so many uses of a particular
Yeah.
action, per session or combat or what have you. So I use a card, I use a deck of
Mechanic.
cards,
Yeah.
and that is hard to replicate in a lot of these online tools. So
Well, what I will say is that Roll20 does have cards like that you can use.
yes,
Um,
but
but it depends on how you need to use them, right?
right. The cards that I found in Roll20, and it's been a while since I've tried
Uh-huh.
it, were just playing cards.
Oh, no. So now, okay, let's talk after. I will
Okay,
I
sure.
will help you figure out how to do it if you need to.
Oh, that'd be
But yeah,
fantastic.
there's the thing that is difficult, right, is that when you're dealing with any of this content, whether it's being made by a particular company or they have, community content running through it, is that you do run sometimes into the situation where something is just not built, the road isn't built out in front of you yet for what you want to do. Um but yeah, the card thing is difficult. I think there's a lot more that could be done with cards, but there are not a lot of games that use them. And so I think it sometimes falls down lower in the priority of like expanding the card capabilities and functionality. But yeah, you should be able to. I know we at least have like X cards and session zero type like safety tools that you can just like download a deck as an add-on. So I think you should be able to make your deck as an add-on and then pull from your cards in your deck, Cami.
Okay.
But yeah.
So, gang, what is your favorite world that you've created?
Mm.
Ooh, that's a hard one. Okay, I'll go first. I have to think about it, but I think I have to say that the best game world I've ever created is definitely the. Oh, there's a couple others, but anyway, it's the one with the bratty kids. Um, that game world was originally built 2 weeks after Third Ed came out, and it's had 6 different games run in it now. Um, Multiple games that have lasted over 70 to 80 sessions. And currently there's a 62 session game going that's a weekly game that we run every week that's running in it. I've run a lot of one shots and smaller games in it, and it's one I'm proud of. It's always felt really, it's a good place to come home to a lot of times too. For players, the game I was talking about that the friend came is like, hey, this is what I want to play. I want to go back to that game world. If a player is asking me to go back to a game world, it's a good game world. I've done well on. I call it Viori's Valley. I made a handout for it about the second time or the third time. The second time that everybody played in it. And it was the second time they all decided to be siblings, that everybody was going to be siblings in the game.
Okay.
And if y'all remind me, I will actually provide the handout and y'all can include it.
Yeah,
as a
that'd be
link.
awesome.
Yeah, I got the PDF for it.
Oh boy. I don't know, man. This I could go two directions with this. I really enjoyed building out my own version of the Feywild for a podcast called Hearthsinger Tales that I ran really just one season of. But it was my first experiment with I'm going to use 5e, but it's all going to come from my brain as far as the version of the Feywild and who's in charge and how the factions work and what the different courts are. And I just had so much fun building on this idea of, which court is like David Bowie Labyrinth, which court is terrifying ghouls and things like that. Like which court is the court where like jealousy reigns supreme and it's like a magocracy, right? Like it's really fun to take sort of an existing theme and run with Enchanted Forest in your own direction. And so that was a lot of fun. And another one that I did was for Vassen, which was an arc in the Lost Mountain Saga called Blood Tide, and it was all about Selkies in the mythic Britain that never was. So it's turn of the century in Britain, and all of those little old wives' tales turn out to be true. Is kind of the theme of that game. It's like a Nordic horror. It started in Sweden, but they've now released different books in different areas. So I built out a whole like northern or no south. It was southwest like Cornwall area that is not necessarily featured in the books, and so I built out a story there that I felt like was really like emotional, probably like the best example of this was a character driven story and mystery about figuring out how to heal generational trauma rather than go walking into a dungeon and killing someone who's making problems for people. And I loved that, like the moral choices that you're asking players are sometimes for me like the most interesting when it comes to world building, so I thought that was a good example of it.
How about you,
I
Pixie?
don't. I don't. I I have a world that I made with my husband, and we worked on this thing for like a whole week, every night for whole week, and then we were planning to go back, but life got in the way. We never named it. Names are neither of our forte. it's our, like you said, Achilles heel. But I, um, I spent way more time creating all the creatures in this world. Like I was like, races, that's fine. Let's go with these creatures. Like, did you know that like according to Google, dragonflies can fly like 30 to 60 miles per hour. I'm like, what would happen if this thing was 5 feet long? How fast is this? How terrifying is this new creature that now is a menace in this area? Or the mud skipper, I think, could be terrifying because it just climbs trees. So I was like, well, what if that was carnivorous now? So now that's a creature over here, and I think that goes back to the aspect, like your favorite aspects of world building. But this is my favorite because I have all these creatures now that can be uh, encounters if I ever do run a game in it, and I can just throw random things and etc. I created enough random creatures for this world so that if I ever do run a game, and random encounters should be a cinch because they're all in designated places, and I feel like you could just roll a die and say this is what you get to encounter and this is what you get to fight this time around. And I
Hmm.
that's sorry, I don't know how to end that sentence.
No, you're you're great. That's a lot better than me. I have this wonderful game world that Sam is helping me create, and the playtesters are helping me create. In fact, there are decisions that I have not made in my Stellar Division world that I will throw a situation at my playtesters. They encountered a new species that is not exactly like the Borg from Star Trek, but they are. Imagine the Borg if they were curious, just learning everything.
Hmm.
But they're just drifting through space. But the playtesting group very nearly allowed them to have jump drive technology, which would have been a, oh dear moment, in my storyline, because now this, collective can go wherever it wants rather than just drift through space.
Hmm.
But they realized at the moment it was a little bit too hostile, chewing on the outside of their spaceship, and decided to detach it. So, but yeah, those so to that end, I don't have a whole lot of critters. I have ideas for critters, but I don't have any information about them. I've tried several times to write it all down, but it just keeps getting away from me because instead of tackling one, I suddenly am like, I have to name them all. And then I get distracted and because it becomes overwhelming and heavy. So, but as far as favorites go, I love all my children. Um, but some I've let go. Sereneth, I had to hand over to other people. Yevendor, my D&D world, still sits there. If I ever want to run something, that's where it's going to happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, right now, Stellar Division is my growing baby. I have to feed it and keep it going.
Care for it and
Yes, because it's still got so much potential and it's not finished and it's not even to a place where my ADHD brain is like I'm bored with this. There's just so much more to do
yeah.
and so much more to tell. So, in fact, I'm actually, and this is unlike me, I am writing my next adventure.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I've actually written, I think, three-quarters of it.
That's
I don't,
awesome.
I don't have the finish, like the big finish. Where
The
does
big
it go?
finish.
Mhm.
Because I ran into what is going to be for the party a huge moral obstacle.
Oh yeah.
I had this great arc, and I was like, "This is brilliant, and it's going to be fantastic." And then all of a sudden, I'm like, "Oh, that would be bad. Will they do it? Am I going to need to do this as a which choose your own adventure book?" So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Do y'all have any questions for us, for as individuals, or for the podcast, or ideas like what should we do next? Because I do like the group things we've been doing.
Hmm.
I mean, we've covered a lot here, but we could probably do a whole episode on DMing.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
We've touched on
How
it,
to DM yourself out of a hole.
so
The Anne Richmond story.
Honey, that's all of
Literally
us.
me all the time.
What do you do when the winter passes uneventfully?
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
I-
The sad DM years.
I'd be really interested in like a I don't know, like a player support group. Like what are you not getting from your games, and like do you think it could be you? Like that sounds terrible, but it's like what are you not bringing to the table to get the game that you want? Or what are you, and are you not like having a DM that's listening? Or like how do you find different types of games? Like where are you more likely to find,
How to be a better DM for your table.
yeah. I think that's also a good topic. But yeah, I think sometimes players get trapped in like, I'm hanging out with these people and they're playing the D&D, so now I'm playing the D&D, but man, I'd really love a system that was a little wider for me. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
I love horror games. What are other horror games I could play? Or my friends only want to play D&D, but I want to do horror stuff. How can we meet in the middle, right?
Right. Or I want to play something campy, and this is all
Yeah.
grimdark.
I'd also love like what are your favorite systems that aren't D&D, or like just a
I'm
talk
all for
about
that one.
different. Yeah, I think a lot of people are, right. Like I think you can get really stuck in one place, but I think it would be really cool to have just like a feature on different systems, like
Yeah.
either
I think
in one episode or spread them out over a couple different
a
ones.
system can determine so much about what a game is
Oh yes.
and what a game can be, that it's very awesome to go find other systems to make your game something different, or find a
Mhm.
system that will work with what you want it to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would
Awesome.
love an interview with like people who are, out there making content, whether it's maps or, selling things on, I would say like femme people who are writing adventures and things like that, or creating new subclasses and post them online. That kind of stuff would be really cool to hear from people who are like dipping their toes into development and design, like Cami. Out here making their own game. I mean, that would be for sure an interesting listen, I think.
Yes. I could use some tips from that too.
It can be two things.
So, ladies, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Yes, thank
We
you.
very much appreciate, Anne and Shana returning, and Pixi. I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight.
Yay.
Oh,
Woo!
thank you. I was glad I was able to make it. It was a little iffy there at the beginning.
It was yeah, but you did it. You did it. We always have some sort of hiccup, so do not worry yourself over it. So, the War Dolls is a community of geeky girls that are here to support and inspire one another. We can be found online at thewardolls.com. We can also be found on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky at the War Dolls. And we have a Discord, which you can find the link for on the Instagram.
And if you're interested in checking out the community, you can join us over on our Discord. where you can chat and hang out with us every Thursday night at 7 o'clock Eastern during our voice chat hobby hang.
And as always, if you have any questions for us or our guests or topics that you would like for us to discuss, you can message us on Facebook or Instagram or send us an email at thewardalls@gmail.com.
Until next time, see you on the battlefield.
Perfection.